Okay, how I ended up meeting Josh was about, I think it was about 2 years ago. And how it happened, I did my first NABSS with, actually 1 minute, the light. Just remember it. Yeah. How I got to meet Joshua was that when I did my first NABSS in 2012, Neo did a lot of campaigning to raise awareness about autism, and the only family that turned up was Joshua with his dad, and another mother that's not here whose son's in his 30s. But what we found out was that Joshua at the time was diagnosed with Asperger's. Asperger's? Autism? Autism. Okay.
What autism I have is Asperger's syndrome.
Okay. So basically what happened with Joshua at the time, my son was there as well, and what you found was that, again, it was Mark Brown, my specialist advisor, who actually came, didn't charge to come down. Nobody turned up, as it's only apart from 2 families. And from that, when Joshua's dad was asking questions, because what we noticed about Joshua was that he was tiptoeing. And when he was with my son, is that they never connected, but what they connected together was the computer. So they could sit side by side, no communication, but you can see that they're both sort of very demanding, very controlling, but they know what they want. What we found out in the end, Joshua only got diagnosed with it last year.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you want to come up and say something quickly? Because I know we've got a break, but I think it's important for people to understand how media can take it the wrong way. Because what was happening with Joshua is that every time when I'm on Facebook, people always focus on the intellectual side. He's very intelligent, he knows what he wants, but what's happening in school, where he's coming from, is that they're ignoring the autism. And I think if Mark, as Daniel explained, that when he came to a second voice, through me, he was able to understand more about autism. And again, as I said, I'm still going through my own battles, but I think because when families come to me privately, they don't want to speak because they feel they're going to be penalised. And I think from what Joshua's dad has explained to me is that Joshua does need support, not just because everybody looks at how intelligent he is, but it's the other side that what my son experienced, Joshua's experienced as well, but he's in the mainstream school. So just let him say a little bit, go on the break quickly and we'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, basically, having a high-functioning child isn't any easier than a child at the other end of the spectrum. Because what happens is, especially in a lot of mainstream schools, if the training isn't there with the teaching staff, then they will come to a different conclusion. So things like, when I approached for a referral, basically it was a no. Said, well, if he was a year or 2 behind, he can get help. So Joshua has challenges with sensory processing and sound. So most of his teachers have been female in primary school. And if they give an instruction and it doesn't respond straight away, then they raise their voice. When they raise their voice, it's painful to him, so he covers his ears. If he covers his ears, they interpret that as him being rude, and he gets sent out of class. So these really simple things, if they were trained, this wouldn't happen. So basically, he got punished for 2 years because if they saw him tiptoeing at the back of the line, he has a problem with lining up. Then they think he's messing around, he gets punished. He struggles with pencil control. He's a perfectionist, so he'll go with the letters, get them perfect, and run out of time. But he taught himself to touch type when he was 4, but they wouldn't allow him to touch type in class. So, the solution was to give him an egg timer to speed him up, or he loses play break. And then when he gets frustrated, they're puzzled why this is happening. Finally now he's been assessed, he's, got to have deep pressure massage, weighted blanket. But again, what happens when you ask for a weighted blanket?
They say that you have to be calm and relaxed to get your weighted blanket.
Did you hear that? Did you hear what he said?
Yeah. So they again misunderstand the purpose. They think it's like a reward. When you calm down, then you'll have it. So it's a bit like if somebody has an asthma attack, you say, well, when you don't have asthma, then I give you a pump. So I've concluded I have to move in from that environment. I can't wait for them to be trained.
Would you like to explain to everybody how it feels to be at school?
My dad has been working on me going to another school for 1 year.
What's the message to schools that don't understand about autism? Your experience.
Well, I don't really know what that the word means.
Okay. Do you see the difference? I mean, I think if schools don't understand how interpretation, where we think they understand and we ask them the wrong question, it can be taken wrong. And that's the problem that my son has always had when he was in mainstream. Once he got into autistic school, or at TAs, LSAs, teachers that understand autism that are in mainstream, you find that the child excels better. So again, like I said to people, I'm not blaming the local authorities, it's about educating the front line, you know, the people at the top to go down to the grassroots. So what I'm going to do is have a quick break, mingle, I'll come back quickly. And